Imagine a vast sea, sparkling under the tropical sun. It seems peaceful, right? But beneath this calm surface lies one of the most complex and explosive geopolitical hotspots on the planet. This isn't just about water. It's about fishing rights worth billions, untapped oil and gas reserves, and control over shipping lanes that are the lifeblood of global trade. We're talking about the South China Sea, and today we're going to untangle this massive web of claims and conflicts. Welcome to Asia Scoop. So, what exactly is the big deal with the South China Sea? Well, think of it as a giant, incredibly valuable piece that at least 6 different countries all believe is rightfully theirs. The main players here are China, Vietnam, the Philippines, Malaysia, Brunei, and Taiwan. Each one claims ownership of parts of this sea, and their claims often overlap, creating a messy, high-stakes territorial puzzle. Let's start with the biggest player, China. China's claim is the most expansive, represented by what's known as the 9-dash line. Imagine drawing a huge tongue-shaped line that scoops up about 90% of the entire sea. This line first appeared on a Chinese map in the 1940s, and Beijing argues it represents historical rights that go back centuries. To solidify this claim, China has been on a massive construction spree, building artificial islands on top of reefs and shoals. These aren't just patches of sand. They're full-blown military outposts with runways, harbors, and missile systems. It's like building your own fort in the middle of a shared playground and then parking your tanks there. Now, let's look at the other claimants. Vietnam has a strong historical claim as well, with ancient texts and maps they say proved their sovereignty over the Paracel and Spratly Islands long before the 9-dash line was ever drawn. For Vietnam, this isn't just about history. It's about their livelihood. The sea is a vital source of fish, a staple food, and a major industry for millions of Vietnamese people. Clashes between Chinese and Vietnamese fishing boats and Coast Guard vessels are common and sometimes turn violent. Then we have the Philippines. Their claim is based on geography. The islands and reefs they claim, like the Scarborough Shoal, are well within what international law defines as their exclusive economic zone, or EEZ. An EEZ is an area extending 200 nautical miles from a country's coastline, where that country has exclusive rights to all the resources. The problem is, China's 9-dash line cuts right through the Philippines' EEZ. In 2013, the Philippines took a bold step and brought their case against China to an international tribunal at The Hague. In 2016, the court ruled overwhelmingly in favor of the Philippines, declaring that China's 9-dash line had no legal basis. It was a landmark victory. On paper. China's response? They completely rejected the ruling, calling it null and void. So, the Philippines won the legal battle, but on the water, nothing really changed. Chinese ships continue to patrol and occupy areas that the international court said belonged to the Philippines. Malaysia and Brunei have claims too, focusing on the southern parts of the South China Sea that overlap with their own EEZs. Their claims are more limited compared to China's or Vietnam's, but they are just as serious about defending them. They've also seen Chinese Coast Guard and naval ships operating in waters where they are trying to drill for oil and gas, leading to tense standoffs. It's a constant pressure campaign. And we can't forget Taiwan, which officially calls itself the Republic of China. It claims almost the exact same area as mainland China, using a similar 11-dash line map from the same historical period. It's a bit of a complicated wrinkle, because both Beijing and Taipei see themselves as the one true China, so their historical claims are basically identical. So why all this fuss over a few tiny islands and rocks, some of which are underwater at high tide? 3 big reasons: resources, trade, and strategy. First, resources. The South China Sea is teeming with fish, accounting for over 10% of the entire world's fish catch. For coastal communities in Vietnam and the Philippines, fishing isn't a job. It's a way of life passed down through generations. But that's not all. Geologists believe that beneath the seabed lies a treasure trove of oil and natural gas. Estimates vary, but we could be talking about 11 billion barrels of oil and 190 trillion cubic feet of natural gas. In a world hungry for energy, that's an incredible prize. Second, trade. This isn't just some remote body of water. It's one of the busiest shipping superhighways on Earth, about 1/3 of all global maritime trade, worth over $3 trillion, passes through the South China Sea every year. Oil from the Middle East heads to factories in China, Japan, and South Korea. iPhones and sneakers made in Asia are shipped to consumers in Europe and America. Whichever country controls this sea has a powerful lever over the global economy. If these shipping lanes were ever disrupted, the economic shockwaves would be felt worldwide. And that brings us to the third reason, strategy. For China, controlling the South China Sea is a key part of its ambition to become a dominant global power. It would allow their navy to operate freely, project power far beyond its shores, and create a protective buffer for its southern coastline. It's a matter of national security and national pride. For the other countries, it's about defending their sovereignty and preventing a powerful neighbor from rewriting the rules of the region. And what about the rest of the world? Well, countries like the United States, Japan, and Australia are not claimants, but they have a huge stake in this. The US insists on freedom of navigation. This means they believe all countries should be able to sail their ships and fly their planes through international waters and airspace without interference. To prove this point, the US Navy regularly conducts freedom of navigation operations, or FONOPs, where they deliberately sail warships close to the artificial islands China has built. As you can imagine, China is not a fan of this, and it often leads to tense encounters between American and Chinese naval vessels. It's a dangerous game of chicken on the high seas. So where does this all lead? The situation is a deadlock. International law, like the 2016 ruling, has proven difficult to enforce. Diplomatic talks have been going on for years, but progress is slow and mistrust runs deep. Meanwhile, the military buildup continues. More ships, more planes, more missiles. The risk of a small incident, a collision between a fishing boat and a Coast Guard vessel, or a miscalculation during a military exercise spiraling into a larger conflict is very real. In essence, the South China Sea dispute is a microcosm of a changing world order. It has a clash between a rising power challenging the status quo and smaller nations trying to hold their ground, all while the established global power tries to maintain the existing rules. It's a story about history, law, economics, and raw power. It's about fishermen trying to make a living and superpowers playing a grand strategic chess game. The future of this vital waterway is uncertain, but one thing is for sure: what happens here will not stay here. It will have ripple effects across the globe for decades to come. Thanks for joining us on Asia Scoop. If you found this explanation helpful, please let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear your thoughts. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into the stories shaping our world. See you next time.